Hello friends, the launch of GSAT-11 is a proud moment for every one of us. ISRO's heaviest and most advanced high-throughput communication satellite GSAT-11 is launched today on 5th of December 2018. The French launch vehicle Ariane 5 lifted off from Kourou launch base, French Guiana at 2:07 am IST, carrying India's GSAT-11 and South Korea's GEO-COMSAT-2A as scheduled. Let's take the pleasure of watching the launch of the satellite. Before going further, please do press the subscribe button and don't forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications of all my future videos.
And welcome once again to Kourou, the home of the Ariane family, for today's live broadcast of Ariane Space Flight number 246. We're very happy to have you all with us for the mission tonight, an international launch for some old friends in India and in South Korea. We're going to move outside for a first look at the launch vehicle. Ariane 5 is the reliable workhorse and the senior member of the Ariane family, designed for heavier satellites and, like tonight, for dual launches. If you're not familiar with her, she stands 54 meters tall and is in two parts. They call them composites, a lower composite and an upper one, the lower including the main stage and the two boosters, and the upper consisting of the two satellites and the vehicle equipment bay. The first of the two satellites there, the heaviest, is usually separated first. Tonight that's the case, GSAT-11 in the upper berth and GEO-COMSAT-2A in the lower deck, due to be separated at plus 33 minutes. Countdown proceeding smoothly, just under 11 minutes to go. GSAT-11 and GEO-COMSAT-2A on the Ariane 5. Now, according to professionals, countdown is the most intense part of the entire campaign, which lasts about 6 weeks. The satellites come in here from their prospective builders, and they go right to the satellite preparation buildings where they're tested and they're weighed and they're checked to see that after their flight, nothing is amiss. So that all that takes about 6 weeks. But this is especially true here in Jupiter for the information flow, when the professionals say that it's a very intense part of the campaign, because there's a constant flow of information coming in from all parts of the launch base to the people here in Jupiter in the fishbowl where Stefan is just going, all during the countdown. Our launch window tonight, nearly 2 hours. That's longer than usual, so that gives us plenty of time. The total mission time, just under 1 hour. And that's pretty standard for an Ariane flight. Coming up now, in just a moment, a brief presentation of the mission. We're going to give you some highlights, maybe some things to watch for. You know, Ariane will be ignited, her first stage, lower stage, and the two boosters are ignited at liftoff together. And you'll see the Ariane rise for about 9 seconds before she tilts to the east, going off on her trajectory across the Atlantic. The boosters will burn 2 minutes, and they're discarded when they've used up their fuel. The main stage continues burning, of course. Less than a minute later, the fairing goes. Our altitude now 200 kilometers. 6.5 minutes later, the main stage shuts down and is cast off in its turn. The upper stage engine then ignites. Upper passenger GSAT-11 will be released at plus 29 minutes. It's held in place by this black structure called the Silda, which we no longer need, so we can get rid of that. Finally, the second passenger GEO-COMSAT-2A separated at plus 33 minutes, and Ariane's mission is complete. 8.5 minutes to go until the 6th Ariane 5 launch of the year, the launcher waiting for her moment in the sun. We'll see her on a moment on the pad. Back in Jupiter, we like to present some of the key players who make the mission happen. This is the Ariane Space High Command, or the flight desk, heading up the team Stefan Israel you saw. With him, Roland Lagier, the Chief Technical Officer. They'll make the call should anything unexpected come up, either before or during the countdown. You may see them on the phones with the teams here at the base or back in Europe. And the weather You may be asking, well, more sun than rain this week. Ariane 5 can launch in the rain, that's no problem. What can give us some concern is high altitude winds, but there doesn't seem to be much problem with that. No signs of that today. There are some clouds, but hopefully we'll have some good visibility, maybe even see booster separation with the naked eye. Two other people that you're going to be seeing today as we move back into Jupiter, the mission director, an Ariane space person, working alongside the range operations manager from CNES, or the DDO as we call her tonight, Fleur Lefebvre. You'll be hearing her a lot. The DDO makes all the key announcements on major milestones during the countdown and the flight, and she will shortly call out the 7-minute mark.
À tous de DDO, attention pour la séquence finale lanceur.
7-minute mark coming up.
Top H0 moins 7 minutes.
This brings us into what's known as the synchronized sequence or the automatic sequence, representing the final moments of the final countdown as power passes from the ground to the launch vehicle, making her autonomous. We're going to take a look at the green status panels on your right. They're a real-time summary of the different launch services provided by the base. Everything is green, so it's as it should be. All right, you know everything. Our stage is set. Take a look now at a film on the launch campaign to see how Ariane 5 gets ready for her mission.
We are now in the final phase of the VA-246 launch campaign, which started about a month and a half ago. GSAT-2A arrived at the Félix Éboué Airport on Saturday the 20th of October in an Antonov aircraft. The satellite and its equipment were transported to the S5C facilities the same day. In the S5C, the satellite was unpacked and installed in the clean room, after which it was subjected to an extensive electrical checkout. Also, the propulsion system was carefully verified before the starting of the fueling preparations. A fit check was performed during this preparatory phase in order to verify the interfaces between the satellite and the launcher elements. As the satellite embarks a very sensitive payload, a nitrogen purge system has been implemented, which allows to keep the camera extremely clean up till launch. On the 10th of November, the GSAT satellite was transferred to the fueling hall, and the actual fueling with the bipropellants MON and MMH was performed between the 13th and the 16th of November. GSAT-11 on its turn arrived on Friday the 26th of October at the airport of Cayenne, also in an Antonov aircraft. The transport of the satellite to the S5C facilities was performed immediately after. The unpacking of the spacecraft and the transfer to the clean room was performed soon after that. GSAT-11 satellite was subjected to a series of electrical tests and the propulsion system was checked out thoroughly. On the 7th of November, the GSAT-11 spacecraft was transferred to the S5B fueling hall. The fueling with MON and MMH took place between the 10th and the 14th of November.
The launcher integration activities were performed first by the unloading and the verticalization of the main cryogenic stage in the launcher integration building, followed by the arrival of the two strap-on boosters and the upper cryogenic stage with its avionic bay. After 17 days of mechanical assembly, avionic and fluidics control, the launcher was ready on November 15th to roll out to the final assembly building, also called BAF, for 12-day final preparation phase.
The combined operation started on Saturday the 17th of November with the integration of GSAT-11 on its flight adapter. After that, the satellite was transferred to the final assembly building in the CCO3 container. The upper satellite was integrated onto the cylinder structure soon after that. GSAT-2A on its turn was integrated to the flight adapter on Wednesday the 21st of November and was transferred to the final assembly building the day after in the CCO2 container.
Well, we are ready for the 10th launch of the year and the 6th Ariane 5 of 2018 and the last launch of the year but one. Some 1,700 people working around the space base in all. Our cameras here in Jupiter, but many others are hard at work at other sites across the range. Another site that's busy is the launch zone, where the launch management teams are working under the direction of the Launch Complex Operations Manager, today Frederic Fakin. You saw him in the clip, and there he is again. Most of their work was done earlier in the day, and of course by the time we get to the automatic sequence, which is now the 7-minute mark, they, like most of us, are waiting basically. The work done up there carried out by two teams, one responsible for executing flight chronology, the other for verification of the flight worthiness of the Ariane 5, and that second group led by this fellow, David Iranzo, the Launch Complex Operation Manager, heading up the first group responsible for execution of the chronology. The Operations Manager coordinates with Mission Control for final authorization to launch. When all the conditions are right, he okays the automatic sequence at 7 minutes, which we saw. At 2 minutes to go, we mentioned earlier that countdown was a complicated process and a long one. Final countdown actually began at 6 this morning. This split-screen image shows the propellant feeder arms in the middle of the launcher, liquid hydrogen on the left, liquid oxygen on the right. They are putting propellant into the upper stage tanks, and you'll see the arms pull back at 7 seconds before ignition. It's one of the last things you'll see before liftoff. We'd like to take just a minute to point it out. You see there in the middle of the screen the yellow bars going from the gantry into the upper stage. Coming up on the last minute, and the drone's eye view, the drone's hovering over Jupiter here, looking down on one of the terraces. There are two terraces on either sides of the building here where the VIPs go to watch the liftoff.
À tous de DDO, attention pour moins 1 minute.
The DDO is going to call out the 1 minute mark.
Top H0 moins 1 minute.
And we are into the final 60 seconds. Give us a chance to say hi to our friends at ISRO in Bengaluru, to our friends at GeoComSat and Kari in South Korea and at Daejeon, locally to the Kourou, Sinnamary and Cayenne sites, to our industrial partners, ESA and CNES, and to all of you following the broadcast on the internet. We hope you are enjoying it. Settle in, and we will cut away and let you listen to the DDO. She'll call out the final seconds. Remember to watch for the cryogenic arms to open.
À tous de DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage Vulcain. Allumage des deux EAP et décollage Ariane 246 avec GSAT-11 et GeoComSat 2A. La propulsion est nominale.
If I may say, than anybody predicted. As the DDO says everything is okay on board, you saw Ariane rise right on time.
Et la trajectoire est nominale.
Lifting off from the ground here in French Guiana with a lot of fire, you can see that, with her two new satellites. Always an impressive sight as Ariane roars off the ground on her mission. The two boosters providing 90% of our thrust right now, propelling the launcher along her trajectory at an ever higher velocity. Our mass at liftoff, 776 tons. Now, to get that sort of mass off the ground, you need a lot of push, you can imagine. And push we have. Ariane 5 burning 5 tons of fuel per second. That's 2.5 tons per second in each booster. Plus the core stage, the middle stage, burning another 300 kilos per second. The DDO says propulsion is normal on board, so we're doing fine. Very fine shots as Ariane 5 starts to head east toward the Atlantic, across the Atlantic. Ariane 5 now following the program in the onboard computer, which gives all the orders, including stage separations, which we will soon begin to see. We are in the first of 4 flight phases. We'll describe each in turn and in detail so you can follow Ariane as she heads east across the Atlantic. The first 3 stages are powered and the 4th is not. Right now, as you can see on the animation, the first flight phase, the single first stage engine and the 2 boosters are burning. The boosters will each consume their 240 tons of fuel in just over 2 minutes, in about 5 seconds. And they're the first to be extinguished, and you'll hear that from the DDO, and you'll see that And
Séparation des deux EAP, la trajectoire est nominale.
the white point of light in the middle is the lower stage continuing to burn, and the two orange lights on either side are the two boosters flaming out. That's what it looks like up there. There's another booster on the port side of the vehicle falling into the ocean. This first flight phase using two different types of propellant,
La propulsion de l'étage principal cryotechnique est nominale.
Coming up next will be the separation of the fairing. On the bottom of your screen on the right are altitude 100 kilometers. On the left, altitude 100 kilometers. On the right, 225 kilometers per second. As we wait for fairing separation, the DDO will call that out. And there you are, coming right on time.
Et séparation coiffe.
Separation is given by two pyrotechnic systems, blowing these two halves away in a very controlled explosion. No danger to the vehicle threatened, of course. There's another half on the starboard side of the vehicle falling away. We can separate the fairing now because we're out of the dense layers of the atmosphere. Over 100 kilometers up, there's neither friction nor heating, which could disturb the passengers. We can also get rid of any dead weight. The fairing weighs 2.5 tons, so it's a good time to get rid of it. Ariane 5 is the heavy lift launcher. The two other members of the family, Soyuz, lifting middle-sized payloads, 2 and 3 tons, and Vega, the light lift vehicle for missions of 1 ton, roughly. With its family of launch vehicles, Arianespace is the industry reference, providing launches of any mass to any orbit at any time. Arianespace is part of Europe's space effort, which is a three-way affair among Arianespace, the European Space Agency, and the CNES, the French Space Agency. You find them all here, along with the customers. Arianespace is in charge of operating the family of launchers and of marketing the launch services and the Ariane program, ESA funding new programs, and CNES overseeing coordination of all space-based operations. And at the base, since October, we've been launching twice a month, every other Tuesday, in fact, in that rhythm, to take us until the end of the year. A launch base, of course, is a place where the launcher and the payloads are prepared, launched, and monitored before and all during the mission. And the CSG, the world's only dedicated commercial space base. Arianespace, operating the launcher family. The 4 place names, Galileo, Natal, Ascension, and Libreville on your screen. Those are the first names of our downrange tracking stations. We are in the second powered flight phase. The single engine core stage is burning now. Another minute to go before it shuts down. During the film, we were picked up by our first downrange tracking station, Natal, in the middle of your screen, over the border in Brazil, run by the Brazilian Defense Department, for the CNES in agreement with ESA. It'll see the lower stage burnout and the separation. In about a minute, we'll have cutoff, of the lower stage. All of Ariane's trajectory has been designed to be followed from the ground. The launcher is sending radar and telemetry back, and the network of ground stations, you saw the names there, keeps constant watch on the health of all of her systems.
Acquisition de la télémesure lanceur par la station de Natal au Brésil.
She's sending back radar and telemetry, and the ground station's picking up the signal. Telemetry is launch vehicle data. Information on over 1,000 parameters is collected, transmitted back to the ground stations every second during the flight. And they record all the launcher's functions and her vital signs throughout the launch. Customers get immediate data on their spacecraft. This is important. Some data are analyzed in real time, and when they're not, they're studied after the flight to learn how the vehicle performed on its mission. And you see the cutoff of the lower stage and its separation and ignition of the upper stage. Right on time. We've had confirmation of these events.
Allumage de l'étage supérieur
you
cryotechnique.
See the lower stage falling away. It will drop into the Atlantic off the Gulf of Guinea. These 3 commands given by the onboard computer in about 13 seconds. So that brings us into the third and final powered flight phase, the single upper stage engine that'll burn until plus 25 minutes, or about 16 minutes roughly. And the job of the upper stage is to take the satellites to their injection point, position them for separation and release them. Turning to our passengers, a film coming up now with a first look at GSAT-11.
Ariane VA246 will deliver to orbit GSAT-11, Israel's largest and heaviest communication satellite ever. Its liftoff mass is 5,854 kilograms, and it will provide high bandwidth capacity over India, hence reducing the digital divide, in particular in rural and remote areas. Arianespace is very proud to have been selected for the first launch of this brand new I-6K platform, developed by ISRO in its URSC facilities in Bangalore. So all the best to GSAT-11 and the ISRO teams involved in the launch and early operation from the Hassan Master Control Facility.
With this launch, Arianespace continuing to unite Europe and India with the mission. The Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, is so important to the nation and has done so much, using space technology for national development, pursuing space science, research, and planetary exploration. ISRO focusing on all types of space applications, navigation, Earth observation, and telecoms. Another look now for more on GSAT-11.
The Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, has played a significant role in establishing a strong communication infrastructure within the country. Today, it is estimated that internet users in India have nearly reached 450 million. Considering India's highly diverse geophysical and climatic features, the provision of broadband connectivity to every part of this vast country through satellites has become a necessity. In today's world, satellite-based broadband connectivity that combines voice, data and video streaming holds immense potential and will be a game changer.
GSAT-11 spacecraft is an advanced communication satellite providing high-throughput payloads in K bands. It is the largest and heaviest satellite ever built by ISRO. This satellite will meet most of the requirements of providing broadband connectivity to rural panchayats under BharatNet project, which is part of the Digital India program initiative of Government of India.
With India moving fast to implement the concept of smart villages and cities, they can be efficiently linked through a large communication satellite.
GSAT-11, weighing about 5,854 kg, is a multi-spot beam satellite providing coverage of Indian mainland and nearby islands. GSAT-11 is the heaviest satellite built by ISRO with the largest solar panels and payload panels. This satellite is also configured with maximum communication antenna, 5 numbers, in inside GSAT family of satellites.
It has mission life of about 15 years. It will enable broadband, telecommunication and multimedia solutions to households, businesses and public organizations. The satellite will also enable next-generation applications such as in-flight connectivity. It is India's first large high-throughput satellite and is configured on ISRO's newly developed I-6K bus. GSAT-11 satellite bus is very versatile with separate modules like mainframe system, payload systems and propulsion systems, providing high level of flexibility and ease in assembly and checkout operations. It is capable of supporting a liftoff mass of up to 6 tons. The I-6K bus also has a capacity to generate and handle up to 20 kilowatt of power.
The payload has around 600 subsystems. Nearly 90% of the hardware has been realized in India with extensive participation of the industry. Most of the hardware is miniaturized using advanced MMIC technologies. For the first time, multi-port amplifier is used for power sharing across the beams under varying service demands.
GSAT-11 will be located at 74 degrees east with a multi-spot beam antenna coverage. It will generate 32 user spot beams in Ku band. 16 each in both vertical and horizontal polarizations, covering Indian mainland as well as islands. This will also generate 8 hub beams, 4 in each polarization, operating in Ka band frequencies. The 4 ground gateways or hubs located in different regions will connect the satellite to the users. All the hub stations in turn are connected to each other via optical fiber network, thus creating seamless connectivity.
The satellite will provide a throughput of 16 gigabits per second through 32 narrow user beams for supporting high data rate services across the country. As the high throughput technology and use of Ka band is being introduced in the country for the first time through indigenous satellites, the associated ground hardware are being established by ISRO. The satellite has completed the launch campaign activities and is ready for launch on board Ariane 5 launch vehicle.
GSAT-11 is all set to begin its journey to space in the European Ariane 5 launch vehicle from Kourou, French Guiana, after reaching the preliminary geosynchronous transfer orbit on board Ariane 5. The satellite will be taken to its final geostationary orbital location by firing its propulsion system in steps. Once this big bird reaches the final orbit, satellite-based broadband services will become a reality in India and will significantly contribute towards bridging the digital divide between the urban and rural India.
While you were watching the film, we were picked up by our next downrange tracking station, Ascension Island, tiny island in the South Atlantic, 10 square kilometers. NASA had a station there till 1989. When they closed it, ESA decided to build its own.
Le pilotage est calme et la trajectoire nominale.
8 minutes left in the upper stage burn as the DDO continues to say all is nominal on board. We have just been picked up, our signal has just been picked up by our downrange tracking station, the next one, in Malindi, on the east coast of Africa in Kenya. Meanwhile, 2 minutes to go in the upper stage burn, cut us to at plus 2505. KARI, Korea Aerospace Research Organization, founded in 1989. ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization, founded in 1969, so both groups celebrating a birthday next year. As we approach extinction of the upper stage in about half a minute, some numbers. This launch is the 304th mission performed by the Ariane family of launchers. GSAT-11 and GeoComSat-2A are the 589th and 90th satellites launched by Arianespace, and the 209th and 210th to be launched on an Ariane 5. Total weight for the 2 passengers, 10 tons. GSAT-11 has a 15-year lifetime, and GeoComSat, 10 years. Ariane 5 has hit her maximum speed. You can see on the bottom right, 9.3 kilometers as the upper stage engine shuts down. Now with the power shut down, you'll see our speed start to drop as we move into this new coasting phase, also called the ballistics phase. It's the last flight phase and the only one that is not powered. We mentioned that Ariane had reached her maximum speed, which was 9.3 kilometers. You're starting to see her slow down. We're already down to 9.26 kilometers per second. In 8 minutes, when she separates GSAT-11 at plus 2907, her speed will be 8.7 kilometers per second. When she releases the Silda, that's the carrying structure for the second passenger, her speed will be 8.3 kilometers per second. That comes at 31 minutes and 48 seconds. And finally, when she separates GeoComSat at plus 3339, her speed will be down to 8.1 kilometers per second. Our customers tonight, old friends and partners of Arianespace. The relationships go back both a long way, nearly 30 years between Arianespace and the Koreans. Our next film explores the relationship between GSAT-11 and Arianespace.
GSAT-11 will bring in a revolution in space-based communication in India. Developed on frequency reuse principle, it will generate huge bandwidth in space, thus enabling Digital India program, Gram Panchayat connectivity, and also satellite-based broadband services to far-flung areas of the country.
GSAT-11 is the 22nd ISRO satellite launched by Arianespace. Our cooperation with the Indian Space and Research Organization goes back to 1981, when Ariane Flight L03 launched the Apollo satellite.
The launch campaign at Kourou has gone exceedingly well, thanks to the professional support of Arianespace and CNES teams. Post-launch, Team ISRO at Master Control Facility Hassan will perform orbit raising maneuvers, solar array and antenna deployments, and in-orbit tests before GSAT-11 is declared operational.
It is always with great pleasure that we welcome at CSG our Indian friends, with whom very friendly relationship links have been weaved over the years.
A mere minute and a half to go until separation of our first passenger, GSAT-11. GSAT-11, the 22nd ISRO satellite to be launched by Arianespace. It's also ISRO's heaviest to date. That's one of the reasons it is the first ISRO satellite to be installed as Ariane 5's upper passenger. Two additional satellites from ISRO are in Arianespace's order book, GSAT-30 and 31. They will be the 23rd and 24th ISRO satellites launched by Arianespace, and both, I believe, are set for next year. 1 minute to go until separation. GSAT-11 arrived here in French Guiana on October 26th, began its tests in the satellite preparation buildings here at the CSG. Process takes about a month, I think we mentioned that. GeoComSat-2A arrived in French Guiana on October 20th and went right to the satellite preparation buildings here for its checks. Coming up on confirmation from the DDO on separation of our upper passenger due in just about 20 seconds. You see GSAT-11 on the left of your screen. The gold and white square. Underneath that, the black bell-shaped structure is the carrying structure for our second passenger. Always a moment of high concentration. The teams have gone through these procedures before, but it does call for tremendous focus. You don't want to say tense, but focused gives you an idea.
Séparation GSAT-11.
And there, the DDO has confirmed separation of our first passenger, and smiles from the ISRO people.
On the successful launch of GSAT-11, ISRO's most advanced communication satellite, I congratulate every one of the Indians and especially the young scientists. It may be coming to your mind that when India is capable of launching 104 satellites together, then why did we go to France to get our satellite launched? So there are a number of questions that may be coming to your mind, and we'll discuss each one of these questions in one of my next videos. Till then, enjoy yourself and keep watching.